Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics. I'm your host, Dr. Maury Mosovitz, with, of course, the all-time best, most wonderful, most stupendous, most amazing, most co-host of all times, Jen Albanese. Hey, Jen.
Hello, Maury. Oh my God, it's season 2.
I can't believe it. We got into a second season already.
Our first episode of season 2. Everybody, are we so excited? This is so exciting.
And not only are we in season 2, we're hitting it off with an amazing guest.
Phenomenal guest. Phenomenal.
So Olivia, who's overseeing all the social and brand marketing strategy for LA28, has been doing it for years. She's like led up into this, is going to be here to tell amazing tips and her stories and things that I think just will hit it out of the ballpark with everybody. She is an amazing speaker.
Such a dynamic person. A little bit of a like proud mom over here. She was like my first intern that I ever had when I first started working at Syracuse. She was like in the beginning with me. So just so proud of her, and just she's incredible. So we're so excited to have her be our first guest of season 2. So cool.
And I know she doesn't do direct game presentation. She'll be capturing it all and sending it out across the world. But I have to think of like who is going to be the person to light the torch in LA28. Like that keeps coming to mind.
So there's so many options. I mean, like,
I think that's the problem with having it in the United States. Like, it's not like you have just one person that stands out. You have so many amazing athletes that are still alive and are part of our history of competition in the Olympics and athletically across, for forever.
I mean, there's just so many options. Like you said, like Michael Phelps could do it.
I really have this strong feeling about Michael Phelps. I don't know why, maybe because it's like Baltimore, it's like a hometown thing, but I really feel like, I mean, I just watching those races with him in those 2 Olympics were like, out of this world.
Many. I mean, we could have Michael Jordan do it. A lot of Michael options, but
a lot of Michael.
Like we just have so many incredible athletes, and it's just so cool that it's here in the U.S. It's just so cool. It's really cool because hopefully like they do like the torch throughout the country, like, where you get to see it when it makes its way around. And when I want to say probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, it came through Syracuse, which was really, really cool. And I was working at like our local bakery, and I like went outside, and it came down like the main road and like ran right by. And it was like the coolest thing. It was just, my parents came. And so hopefully it gets to make its way through somewhere near where we are that we're able to see it. And that'd be really cool. Maybe Herm can carry the torch.
It would be, Herm would be our torchbearer through the streets of Syracuse. And by the way, it's probably more than 10 years ago, not to like make you feel extremely old, but like I don't think you were working at Lindcourt 10 years ago.
Maybe it's 20 years. Okay, it's 20 years. It's 20 years. It's at least 20 years. But that's gonna be so cool. But there's so many options of who it'll be. It'll be so cool to see just the whole spectacle of what it will be in LA. It's
very exciting, and we get to hear it from a person that's helped making it happen. So we're gonna have Olivia come up after these messages.
Are you a loyal 5 Tips and Tricks podcast listener? If not, now is the time to start. Get all your info and fun content on the podcast by following us on all our social channels at @AthCareerPod. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting. Make sure to reach out to us. The one-stop shop for everything is our website, www.athcareer.com. Remember, follow and like us on @AthCareerPod, rate and review us, and get all your info at www.athcareer.com. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Maury, would you like to introduce our guest today?
For sure. Our guest today grew up in the heart of New York City, where the energy of the streets and the culture of sports and storytelling left a lasting impression. That passion led to her at Syracuse University, where she earned a degree in public relations and sports management, setting the stage for a career that would bridge strategy, creativity, and impact. She began her professional journey with roles at the Philadelphia 76ers, Paragon Sports, and Macy, sharpening her skills across retail, sports, and experiential marketing. From there, she took a leadership role at Legends, where she oversaw marketing, advertising, and creative services, fueling the growth of new clients and divisions by an impressive 250%. Her work supported some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment, including SoFi Stadium, US Soccer, and UFC. Today, she brings that expertise to one of the most exciting stages in global sports as the Vice President of Marketing and Brand Engagement for the LA28 Olympics and Paralympic Games. There, she leads the digital, social, and content strategies to engage millions of fans and build the brand that represents the future of the games. With over a decade of experience and a reputation for crafting campaigns, content, and inspiring, she's a leader you'll want to keep an eye on. Please welcome to the show, Olivia Cheng. Welcome, Olivia.
Hi, Olivia.
Hello, hello. Thank you. That was a
What
great bio.
an impressive bio.
I know. And I must add, one of my very first interns that I ever had when I first started at Syracuse. So this is like a special place in my heart here. I'm so proud of her. So, yes, we're so happy to have you here today.
And we were talking before, like you were starting this whole social thing before it became really what it was social. Like you and Jen were kind of starting it off before people really did what we do today.
Absolutely. We started off, I think Cuse was the social handle. And it was just Facebook and Twitter. And I think we actually started off with a football game and then a basketball game. And so it was really exciting to kind of see how the early days of social has now transformed, but it actually all started at Syracuse. So I'm excited to be here.
I know that's great. I love
and now
it.
You're the social guru for the world's biggest sporting event.
Yeah, no big deal. You go from Syracuse to the Olympics. No big deal. No big deal.
No big deal. A lot of pressure, actually.
Well, what you've been doing has been amazing. And I know our fans are going to love to hear about your tips and tricks from your experience. So with that, let's start with the first tip.
Sure. Before I get into the tips, I will say for me, I've always seen sort of like my career path and even my personal journey always as like training to be that pro athlete. And whatever that pro athlete is in you, right? It really sort of is whatever your threshold of whatever that may be, right? Some people's pro athlete is a D3 player and others are just like, I'm going to be an executive one day, right? And so for me, I'm kind of climbing that corporate ladder. And I knew very early on I was going to be an athlete because I played a variety of different sport. But I think the word, athlete or having sort of a career in the athletic or sports industry has always been a big passion of mine. So I think the first and foremost is really trying to figure out like what your strengths and weaknesses are, and probably as early as possible. I think once you get to know what you're good at and then maybe areas that you can improve, then you can really figure out like, what is that path that you can take, right? Do you actually have a weakness, or is this something that you just don't actually have experience in? Or are you really good at something, and could that turn into something that becomes something you can do 24/7? And even, honestly, I always say this as myself, or I've always loved marketing. And I think I knew that, even before I went to Syracuse, but I purposely made sure that every step that I took up until this point, and as I will continue to carry on, is to make sure that I know where my strengths are and where my weaknesses are. And I'm going to make sure that I can continue to hone all of my skill sets so that I can get to where I want to get to and kind of build that pro athlete muscle in myself. So that's sort of the first tip I would take, is to really try to make sure that people kind of figure out what they're really good at, what are the areas of opportunities, and then hopefully that'll help guide sort of their passion of where they want to move towards.
I think it's so impressive too. I looked at your resume and I was thinking about it. Like you were a part of the sports management program early on here at Syracuse too. Like it wasn't very old, and you took PR and marketing, which is like a huge pillar at an institution that is known for that, and merged that with sports and said, okay, I'm going to like find my strength. I'm going to build it. And I thought, wow, what a forward thinking thing to do, and like kind of recognize where your passion is and how to hone that in. So I really thought that was really impressive. And like when you put it in the mind frame of like, be like an athlete, train in those areas that you want to be in and be successful and put it together, like that all connects for me so clearly. So I'm so impressed by that.
I think it's cool how you said like if your weakness, it might not be something that you're not good at, it's just something you don't have experience in. And I think that that's really important too for people to understand, is like, oh, if you just haven't done it doesn't mean it's a weakness. You know, you should at least try it, whether it's sales or whether it's facilities or whether it's digital marketing or whatever. You just might not have the experience, and it doesn't mean it's a weakness of yours. So I love how you kind of phrased it like that. Instead of it's a weakness, it's an opportunity to build a little bit of experience in that area. So that's kind of cool.
And I thought, like, for me, my weakness, especially when I was in school or very early days, is that I didn't have like any connections, or I didn't really know that much sports, or right, I didn't have the network to get me into the industry. So I thought all of those were weaknesses, right? The weakness of not being able to have those connections to kind of get into it. But that's where I very much realized, like, hey, but my strength is I can go figure it out. I can actually learn this business. I can build a network. I can connect with people. And so very quickly I recognized, like, those are actually not weaknesses. Those are just areas that I haven't actually, had the opportunity to kind of build that muscle and really connect with people. And so now when I look back, that's what I mean by like really trying to figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah, well, I love that. Great.
Killer tip. You're starting off real strong. Let's go. Let's go with number 2.
So my second thing somewhat relates to the first, but it's really trying to find your why. I think as we kind of all navigate, everything that we're doing, whether it's personal or your career, you're always going to be at a standpoint where you're like, "Ooh, I don't like to do this," or "This isn't my thing," right? But once you figure out your why or what gets you going, I always use this as an example. Like, honestly, if I win the lottery today, even though I don't play the lottery, but if I win the lottery today, I would still do this job. And the reason is because I don't see it as a job. I see it as an opportunity to really make a difference on everybody that's on my team, people that we get to connect with, the athletes that are going to be competing in 2028 from, in the past all the way to 2028. And so for me, it's because I'm just so passionate. Like, I love the fact that I can be in a position where I can tell stories, where I can craft stories, where I can really make an impact. But then at the same time, I'm also able to deliver results, right? I think a lot of times people think, marketing is just telling a story and, it doesn't really matter what the end result is, but actually it is results oriented. And so for me, I just knew that I can use this passion that I have in marketing, where I can use that to actually really connect in an industry that, frankly, when I was at Syracuse, I did have a little bit of this foresight that I was like, hey, where would I stand out? And there's a couple things. One, I am 5'9", so I'm a little bit taller than, maybe most.
Than me.
Definitely
Okay,
a Jen. You and Jen together were definitely an odd couple.
And we love that. And then the second thing, I was just like, hey, I've always played sports. I mean, I don't know what the sports industry was, right, when I was younger, but you take on internships, you take on opportunities, and very quickly you realize, like, actually part of my why is that I can actually make an impact in an industry that, really I didn't see myself in. And that's why I chose this path, so that hopefully this next generation can take a look at what's out there and be like, oh, okay, like, I don't have to just do accounting, being a lawyer, right? Like the typical like jobs that are out there, but like, oh, I could actually work in sports. And so I really feel like the opportunity to figure out your passion and find your why is probably not just a tip, but like, if somebody can figure that out as early as possible, that's also a big win to help you guide sort of what the path forward is.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, again, we always talk about sports is not your typical 9 to 5. Like you just said, it's not your typical job. And if you don't have the passion and you don't know the why, I don't think you're going to make it. Like it's a huge commitment, and it's your whole life. It takes up your whole life. Your family is a part of it. Everybody around you is a part of it. And if there's not the why there and the willing to do it no matter what, it's hard to keep forging forward, I think. So it's important to know that why. So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Great one. Okay. Number 3, what do we got?
The third one I would say is really try to build a brand. And I know that sounds a lot easier, but I will say maybe the marketer in me is recognizing that, once again, still personal or, for your career, when you're able to kind of build a brand and people get to, believe it or not, everybody has a brand, regardless if you go and actively try to pursue something. It's all really about authenticity, because you can try to build something that's inauthentic and people will see through it right away, right? But building that brand really allows you to probably also recognize and learn your why and figure out your strengths and your passions and everything else. But at the same time, it's a lot easier, because a lot of times when you go on interviews or you're talking to coaches or you're in a situation where you need to actually explain something, when you know your brand, you get to authentically go and explain, right? Or really tell people who you are, what you're about, and why you're passionate, and how you can add value to others, right? Whether it's in a one-on-one setting, in a work setting, in a personal setting. And so for me, I genuinely believe that if you're trying to, work in athletics or in the sports industry, like, what makes you stand out, right? Why should somebody want to hire you or want to add you to their team? And like, when we talk about team dynamics, especially in the sports industry, like, that's everything, right? Because it is not a 9 to 5. There are so many things that needs to happen to make that show, that NFL game, right, that event happen. And so it's going to be really critical for people to want to work in one team. And it all starts with your own brand and recognizing, knowing who you are and what you're about and what you're able to offer.
I've always had a question, and I think it's really pivotal what you're talking about, is how do you designate between what's your personal brand and what's more your professional, and how to get that message out there? Like, because there is those people that kind of just don't know how to navigate that. So how have you approached that?
So it took me a while, because I think when I was younger, certainly I thought, oh, my personal brand needs to be like who I am and what I'm about. And then my professional brand needs to be who I aspire to be and who I will be, right? And very quickly, I think, as I started to navigate and have different conversations and really realize who I am as a personal and as well as a professional, to me, that's one brand. And that's the easiest way that I can be who I am, what I'm about, how I can lead, right, my team and also the next generation, by just being who I am. And so, frankly, there's not that big of a difference. And I think anybody that knows me will know that, like, personally, I am the way I am. Maybe a little bit more vibrant if it was my, personal life. But frankly, like, I am just truly who I am, in and out, the office, on a Zoom versus a phone call with a family or a friend, always trying to just be who you are. And I think it'll make things a lot easier when you're trying to navigate, because it's hard when you have to, like, put a costume on. It's hard, right? Like, humans are not everybody's an actor or actress, right? So, like, humans are just like it's a lot easier to just be who you are.
It's that authenticity.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. You just realize the guardrails, right? Maybe some things you can say personally. But I think that's the cool part about being in the athletics and sports industry. You can curse. There's a couple of guidelines that, maybe in other industries you're like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that.
You probably shouldn't be putting it out personally if you're afraid it's going to hurt you professionally anyways. It's not going to really be the right thing.
That's right.
That's awesome.
I liked what you said about the team aspect too, of like being authentic and knowing who you are, because you have to work with people too, and being able to, when you're selecting people for a team, whether it's interns or, staff members that you're hiring, that authenticity comes through. And if you can't see that in somebody, then you're not going to want to work with them on a team. They're not going to work well with you. So understanding that too, when you're looking for a job or you're going for an internship, being who you are, because you're going to spend time with these people and you're going to work with them and you're going to give them responsibilities. So I think that that's really important. So that authenticity is very important.
I will add that, like, for me, I'm in a very lucky position because I've been at LA28 about 4 years now. And so I've actually hired every single person on my team. So, like, I'm literally building from scratch. And so and team dynamics are everything, right?
Yes,
And seeing
yes.
how we have to work, all around the clock. It isn't just that 9 to 5. And so when we need to build the games, and I get to like actually think more so the personality than somebody's capable of doing the work, that's just as important, because
Yeah.
we're going to go through some stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
It's
we
gonna
want to
hit
make
the fan
sure.
at some point.
That's right. So yeah, that's a main challenge I'm going through myself right now, which I love.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, just really seeing the back of the house, everyone's really getting to see everything. So we appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, okay, number 4.
Um. So this is probably a little bit more, I don't know if it's a tip or trick, but it's really a bit of my own mantra. And hopefully that sticks with somebody that's out there. But hard work, hustle mentality with a slice of humbleness, to me, is the recipe for success. So hard work, hustle mentality with a slice of humbleness, I think really carries uh, the everyday work that I do, right? Able to be transparent, authentic, and kind of bring my full self to work. But at the same time, right? Like, there's so much to learn, there's so much to do. And so when you're talking about athletics and an industry, a lot of times people think that you need to know all the stats. You need to know every single Olympic and Paralympic sports that's out there. You need to know every single athlete that's out there. That's not necessarily true at all. And so it really is about, but doing the work, really understanding, like, if we're actually going to be good at our jobs, we do need to do some of that homework. You do need to kind of go in and recognize that you don't know everything. And
Yep.
so that's why when I say a slice of humble, right? Like a little slice of humble pie, it's really about like, okay, when I'm at the end of the day going into work, recognizing that even though I might need to, head up, make decisions, things that there are things that I don't know, and that's okay. And that is true for any industry, but especially in the sports industry, because there's always going to be that one athlete, that one player that's better than you, right? Or that, coworker who like knows more stats than you. And you're probably going to be like, oh my God, I can't, like, this doesn't work for me. But believe it or
Right.
not, that's not what this industry is about, right?
Right.
That
Yeah,
industry is
exactly.
about figuring out what you're good at
Yeah.
and then seeing
Right.
what you can actually bring to the table. So
Mhm.
that's a little mantra that I always take wherever I go.
That's awesome.
I love that. I mean, hard work, it just speaks for itself. You know what I mean? Like, if you can work hard, and even if you don't, like you said, you don't have to be a fan of a team that you're working for and know everything about that, or, I mean, be aware, but, if you show that you can work hard, show up and stay late, come early, that all of those things make you stand out in an industry where you're trying to find a way to stand out. So it's those little things.
And to
Um,
me, all those things that you say make such a good supervisor too. Like I look back on those
mhm,
people that I have had above me and thought, okay, well, they're working hard, they're putting in the effort, but then the humility to say, if I go and ask them a question, be like, you know what, I don't know that either, and we're going to figure it out together, or be in that
mhm.
realm. The people that just try and pretend like they know what's going on or what's happening is so it so quickly falls apart. And so
Mhm.
to have someone that's like, you know what, we'll figure this out together. We're a part of this. Have pull people in from your team, having all that mentality, be like, I am confident enough in my abilities and what I do, and I know I work hard. It's just such the difference in leadership, and hopefully a lot of people out there get to be in those leadership positions and implement that, because to me, it's made all the difference in my career.
Mm-hmm. And
For
I
sure.
have to say, like, right now, more than ever, like, maybe 1% of people who've worked at LA28 has actually worked at another organizing committee who's actually,
Yeah,
like, been a part of building a games. And so
right,
when we talk about, like, the Olympic Games, I think one of the things that people don't realize, we're talking 7 to 9 Super Bowls every single day,
right,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, that's
For like
insane.
14 days straight. And then you times that almost by 2 for the Paralympics as well.
right.
And so there is really no, like, there's it's not like I had a practice round, right? And
Right.
opening ceremonies will not be delayed. We need to come in, and trust me, there's a lot of things we're not going to know, and we're definitely going to need to make sure we're eating that humble pie so that we're coming in and we're just figuring things out all together. So
awesome.
There's no exhibition games for that.
No.
There's no practice round.
not at all. I mean, like right now, obviously FIFA is coming up, right? The World Cup, and
Yeah.
right now they have the cup, the World Cup. And so when we talk about a year from now, like that's literally just one sport. Like we
Right.
have so many sports.
You're going to be
on top of
doing that sport plus every other sport at the same time.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, I might not have sleep starting next year.
I'm
We'll be
glad we
thinking
got
of
you
you.
in now. I'm glad we got to do this now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Jen, throw out that
All
last
right.
big one.
All right. So last one, Olivia, what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So what do you know now at this point in your career that you wish you knew when you first started?
Oh my God. I feel like I know a lot now, but I'm not going to lie. When back then, I thought I knew a lot back then too.
Right.
Currently, when I was at Syracuse, I was like, oh, I'm ready. Like I might not know, what my career path is going to be like, but I am so prepared. I know everything. And I still feel that way now, but with a sense of like, no, you will never know everything. And so I think one of the things that I will say is, especially somebody who's trying to build a career in the sports industry or in athletics, one of the things that I recognize now more than ever is just really realizing the power of a network. I think I said in the very beginning, I really didn't have a lot of connections to get into the sports industry. In fact, it took in my opinion, a lot of work just to get into the industry. Like my first job was actually Macy's. I got like a internship that turned into a full-time job. I worked for a few months, but I knew I wanted to get into marketing. And very quickly, I realized that Macy's is really, really big from a corporate perspective. So if you're in store management and you're trying to get into the marketing side, it's really not as simple as like, let me put in a transfer application. And then we're talking about sports, right? So a totally different industry than retail. And very quickly, I went to a company called Paragon Sports, which is sort of a home, like, family owned operated business for over 100 years. And I was like, a sporting goods company. We're getting close. We're going to retail and we're getting sports, but we're never there.
Yeah.
I kid you not, I applied for over 100 jobs. I'm not even kidding. Like I have all of my resumes because I tailor all my resumes, et cetera, and cover letters. I applied almost 100 times before I even got a phone call at the 76ers.
Crazy.
And it was also because I went to a networking event, right? Which is like the power of network, where I met the VP of HR, and she was like, you're overqualified. We'll call you when we have something available. And you hear that a lot, but you're just like, are they really going to call me? There's like 200-300 students that you're like, or people that you're seeing, right? And part of that network and like making sure you're like there, prepared for the moment. And she called me 6 months later and she remembered me. And I maybe reached back out maybe twice just as a quick little follow-up, but I never really like went above beyond. But I also wasn't silent, and I kept trying to chase, right, what that dream was, to work for an NBA team. That was my dream. When I was at Syracuse, I was like, that is the dream. I'm going to work for an NBA team. And that early on in my career, like that was still like 5 years out from Syracuse. So for me, I was just like, oh my God, I got my dream job. But when I went to the 76ers as an organization, it was awesome. But what I was doing just wasn't, enough for me personally. And so it really was a part of that network thing again, where I got into the industry that I finally wanted to, but maybe it wasn't what I had expected. And so I continued to build that network. And I think what a lot of people are, when they hear networking, they're just like, oh my God, here we go. People are so fake. People are going back and forth. They're just saying hi.
LinkedIn.
Exactly.
Yep.
But what I always say is you just need one. You just need one person to believe in you, and they will connect you with the right person, the right group, the right opportunity. And that's actually what happened to me. Like I literally had no connections, and there was this one person I met on LinkedIn, and I just had a casual conversation. I made time for him and he made time for me, which I appreciate till this day. And he was just like, I mean, if you're interested, I don't know if you've heard of Legends. I know they're just a startup, but they are backed by the Yankees and Cowboys. And at that time, that was a scary thing because you're like, wait, a startup. But you kind of believe in yourself first, and then you kind of go in and you start building the network again. And that started to help me realize, like, hey, you got to take a chance on you, right? If you feel like you can make it happen and hopefully believe in an organization like the Yankees and the Cowboys that who generally doesn't fail, then you take that chance. And honestly, all of those little networking opportunities got me to LA28, because a lot of people always ask me, how did I get to LA28? The CMO who was at Legends went to LA28, and a year or two later, she called me for the opportunity. And next thing you know, I have obviously applied for the opportunity and got here. But it was part of building that network. And genuinely, I didn't know what that meant. As like, I hated being in a room to like shake hands with random people. I'm like, they don't really want to say hi to me. I don't really know them. And how do you build that? But you got to do it. The power of networking truly, truly, truly makes a difference. And, I hope that somebody out there, it doesn't matter if you're an introvert or extrovert, you take that with you and just try. I know it's awkward, but just try. And all it takes is one person to believe in you, and that power will get you to wherever you need to go.
Oh my God. So good. So good. I love it.
Olivia, we're going to be watching you. We're going to be watching what's coming up with LA Olympics, and we're sure that you're going to do an amazing job with a awesome event coming up here in a couple of years. And definitely keep in touch, and we're looking forward to seeing everything that's coming down the pike.
I know. Well, good luck with everything. I'm so happy for you and so excited to see everything that you're working on for the next few years. We'll be thinking of you. Hopefully you will get sleep. Hopefully you will get some sleep.
Hopefully you guys come to the games. We got 3 years to go, and even if it's not yourselves, but I'm sure many CUSE alums will be there. So we're excited about that.
You need me to throw a t-shirt. I'm there, girl. Whatever you need me to do.
We will need some games presentation. That is what the U.S. gets to offer the games,
Listen,
internationally,
right here.
That is not a thing.
Listen,
bucket list.
Right here. My hand is raised.
Got it.
Whatever you
done
need.
And done.
I am there. Just remember me.
We'll sign you up as a volunteer, so we'll get you in there.
Oh my God, that would be the coolest thing ever. Oh,
I know. Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate the time, and hopefully somebody hears this and gets inspired. But I really appreciate it, and hopefully I get to visit Syracuse soon.
Yes, come up and say hi.
We'll be out there. Anytime. Thank you so much for doing this, Olivia. We so appreciate it. Yeah, this was great.
Love it. Thank you.
Make sure everyone check out the podcast. Make sure you're following and liking us. Jen, all the socials?
Yep. So make sure you're following us on all our socials at @AthCareerPod and listening on all your podcast platforms. And episodes drop every Tuesday. So thank you, Olivia. And thanks, everybody, for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.